Hi everyone, Bifties here, welcome to my Exile. This is my third video for Path of Exile 2, and what I wanted to do is to cover my top 5 beginners tips that I've learned from 150 hours in the game. Now, I am by no means an expert in this game. We're probably talking of needing thousands of hours in a game like Path of Exile or Path of Exile 2 before you really could call yourself an expert. And I did not play Path of Exile 1, and like I said, I'm about 150 hours into Path of Exile 2. But I think I've got enough to share with you from one beginner to another what I think will help you on your journey. Tip number 1, respecing is easy. Don't fear mistakes. Now, what I mean by this is that if you want to make changes because you realize or you think that you've made a mistake, you don't have to start again. You can very easily make changes. There's a point in the game about halfway through Act 1 where you are given the ability to respec or to buy back some of your passive points. And it's very easy to do. It can become a little expensive if you do it too often, and I certainly did do that. So don't be looking to make changes too often, but it's absolutely fine to make mistakes, and I think you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. So try whatever you want, and then you can always make changes in the future. Tip number 2, try before you buy. What I mean by this is, why not try all of the classes before you commit to one? I think the game should all be about having fun and enjoying it, but that might be different for you. Decide what you want from the game and then go from there. But I think you'll be surprised, because I always would play Sorceress or a Wizard class, and in this game, that's not the case. I have played the Witch, which is sort of a hybrid of the Sorceress, but I really did lean heavily into the Minions build, and my favourite class at the moment is the Mercenary, and I'm actually playing both types of Ascendancy to see which one I prefer. So even within a class, I'm actually playing multiple builds in order to decide what I like best. And what I'm doing is I'm using mistakes or lessons learned from one to then try and improve the other. So there's no problems with trying everything out. Maybe take yourself halfway through. Maybe go get the point where you get the passive points or the ability to respec with each class before you decide to continue on your journey. Tip number 3, let the game teach you. In the beginning, I thought the game was too complicated and that it didn't teach you enough. There were videos out there that were actually saying that Path of Exile 2 was too hard, and I was starting to believe that that was true. But what I've realised now is that actually in some ways the game is too easy, or at least it has the potential to be too easy. If you learn everything, or if you put a build together that is perfect, or as perfect as you can make it, chances are that you can walk into any boss fight and beat it really easily. In my opinion, that makes the game too easy. I've actually had to dial back with my Witch build and make the game a little bit harder to make it more enjoyable. But you don't have to worry about that too much. Act 1 of the game is very much about experimenting with your build. Once you get to the end boss, which is Count Geonor, you might find that you need to make some changes. It's very easy to do that beforehand, so play around with it. Act 2, you may start to notice that you really need to pay attention to the gear that you're wearing, or the weapons that you're choosing, and the stats that they hold. I think it's really important to play around with this and to learn, but you don't have to worry too much. Just get used to checking the store, paying attention to what works, and don't get too unique obsessed. I've always been unique obsessed in other games, but this game isn't like that. For me, rares are actually better than uniques, but I'm thinking about doing a whole video about that, so I won't bore you with that right now. Act 3, you need to really start paying attention to the passive tree and getting that correct. Now, I'll probably do a video about that in the future, so don't worry too much, but if you're getting through to Act 3, then you're quite experienced at this point. You're starting to realize it. But just remember, the game isn't too hard. It has the potential to be too easy. Tip number 4, build guides are optional. My friend and I, when we first played it and we did couch co-op, we kind of said to each other that we were going to stay away from build guides. The suggestion for Path of Exile 1 was that for your first playthrough, or maybe first multiple playthroughs, a build guide would be necessary. And that was always a shame for me. I think that actually made the game inaccessible for me, because I really want to learn by doing. I want to actually pick my passive points. I want to learn when I've made a mistake. I want to try different gear. So if I'm going to follow a build guide, that actually took a lot away from the game for me. And I found that a little bit disappointing. So I don't want to follow a build guide. But once I got into the game and I was enjoying it, but I started to feel that my character, my witch or my mercenaries and my warrior to a certain extent as well, was starting to slightly fall off the pace. What I actually did was I watched a couple of build guides or a couple of videos that discussed builds, and that really helped me. It gave me an idea of which passives to choose, and then I started to use the filter in order to make it easier. By learning it for one class, that actually gave me a strategy or a method for my other classes, and therefore I then took that over to those classes and I learned from there. But for the support skills, I really don't think that I understand that fully now, or not how to optimize it. With the support skills, you can pretty much pick anything that's available. If it feels better than it did beforehand, if you feel more effective, that you're moving through clearing maps or bosses quicker, then that support skill has probably helped you. If you don't feel any difference, then start to think that maybe that support skill wasn't the right choice. But I think I use the build guides more for support skills and a little bit for passives, not very much for gear. I didn't think that was necessary, but if you want to follow a build guide, do it. Don't let anyone tell you that they know the absolute best. Certainly at the moment, while it's still in early access, nobody knows the best, because they're nerfing, they're making changes. So therefore, what was the best build last week may not be the best build this week. So don't worry about that too much. Tip number 5, it's a little bit simple, but don't forget to have fun. Now, if fun isn't your main goal, then swap the words out and put in whatever your goal is. If you want to be farming, then that's fine. Don't forget to farm. Probably doesn't work, but you get my point. For me, fun is important. If I'm not enjoying the game, there's no point playing it. The game plays incredibly well, so I would suggest that if you're not enjoying it, then maybe you're not focusing in the right areas. Find what's fun to you and focus on that. I think it's a very, very good game. I've enjoyed it a lot. I think I'm going to be spending hundreds of more hours in the games over the next few months, and I'm really looking forward to that. But please don't forget to have fun. That's what gaming should be about, in my opinion, and I don't think I'm wrong about that. So there's 5 tips for you from one beginner to another. I hope that it's helpful. If you've enjoyed the video, please drop me a like. If you've got any feedback about it, I'm still very new to the game, but I'm even more new to YouTube. I've never really spoken on camera before, so I really appreciate comments about my tips, but also comments about how I'm doing, any suggestions on how I can improve and get better at this. I think it comes from practice, but maybe you've got some better suggestions. And if you want to see how my exile and my journey in Path of Exile 2 goes, or if you just want to see how my journey into YouTube goes, then please subscribe. It's really, really helpful, and I would very much appreciate it. The video is about to come to an end, I think. That's me killing the Colossus, and it looks like I got 2 uniques for my trouble. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Bifties. This is The Cave. Welcome to my exile. See you next time.